Hi, Stuart. Nice to see your bright smile and see beautiful people same time. You told me about to reach enlightenment is like a snail climb up to Fuji Mountain. This is really shocked me, but still I want to be at least turtle or something. But anyway, so calm me down to just step by step, you know, that's really deep teaching. Thank you so much.
There's a wonderful Japanese Zen expression. You know what it is? Climb Mount Fuji, oh snail. But slowly.
That means forever.
That is right from your culture. Okay.
maybe never reach, but anyway, thank you for telling me. Tell us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah, right.
Not in a rush. You'll get to the top of Mount Fuji.
Right. True. That means the life itself, not to life is same, just step by step to whatever I want, you want, everything, you know. I think that these are same teaching. So deep. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, dear. Does anyone else have a question? Like
Stuart, I'll ask you about something Rudy mentioned in one of his books. He said about breaking down tension and the stuff that happens, and if you make it into a powder and you put a teaspoon in water and you drink it, that's the food for the plant that you are, the fertilizer for the plant that we each are. So can you talk about that general topic?
I mean, I'm not here to interpret Rudy's writings, you know, but it's very simple, you know. I mean, Rudy always talked about a human being being like an organic garden, talked about needing fertilizer, needing mulch. You know, he talked about the transformation of tension into fertilizer that instead of destroying the garden, it nurtures the garden. And that's the work that takes place in the third chakra, in the sexual area, and Kundalini. It's the transformation of the human to the spiritual. It's turning all the things that are killing us into fertilizer. And fertilizer, if it's healthy and good, it'll produce an organic garden inside us. It takes a conscious effort to do this. It's not something that just happens. What just happens is that the tension drives us crazy. But when we make a conscious effort to draw that tension, please try and sit still. Hello? When we make a conscious effort to draw that tension into the third chakra, into the, to turn it into chi, and then we draw that energy through the sexual area, it becomes fertilizer for growth. It nurtures our inner life instead of taking our inner life away from us. You know, and that's really our obligation to God, you know, because human beings are racked with tension. And part of learning how to have a spiritual life, and a very big part of learning how to have a spiritual life, is the transformation of that tension into chi, into energy that nurtures us, that gives us strength, that enables us to live here in a healthy way, that really, you know, transforms anger and unhappiness and depression into chi, into an energy that is nurturing, that really builds a system inside a human being that gives them the strength to be able to connect with God. So he was talking about that, you know, turning it into dust or into sand or whatever you said, you know, and you know, breaking it down. I mean, look, what is mulch, you know? You know, it's you take food and you leave it sit and the whole thing breaks itself down. instead of being poison, it becomes, you know, something that nurtures soil and produces a garden. And I think that that really is the key, one of the great keys to inner work, that we have to learn how to do that. Otherwise, that poison just really goes through our entire system and it kills people. It destroys the inner life of a human being. And instead of creating a strong person who can connect with God or spirit, it takes apart the whole inner life of a human being. It racks people with tension. So what he was talking about is that, breaking down the tension, just as, you know, when you put food, you know, into a pile and it becomes fertilizer, you know, the whole atomic structure of the food breaks itself down into something that nurtures the soil instead of something that kills the soil. So our job is to do that with our tension, because tension is like, you know, it's like garbage, you know, and we need to learn to break it down into something that nurtures our internal soil. I mean, I learned this from Rudy. I heard it for years. He talked about this. You know, he really just drilled it into me, you know, that one of the most important aspects of what he taught was the transformation of negative energy into life-giving energy. And he used the metaphor of, you know, fertilizer, mulch, you know, which gives life to soil, but it comes from garbage, you know, it comes from garbage. And we have a lot of garbage in us, you know, which, you know, is another word in this kind of work we do for tension. And we need to learn to break it down. I mean, it's an incredible aspect of Rudy's work. And it's not something that you just do by assuming a pose of, you know, kind of sweetness and that superficial spiritual, what's that called, bullshit, you know, of being holier than thou and being sweet and, you know, and it doesn't work. It has to be real. It has to come from a place deep inside a human being. And all the sweetness in Rudy came out of fire. It was like incense. It was burning all of his tension, and he transformed it into love, into sweetness. So there was power inside him. It wasn't just superficial sweetness that people, you know, do when they, you know, this kind of holier than thou way of living a spiritual life. Rudy was fire. At the same time, he was love. And his love for his students, his love for humanity, all of that, which was unconditional, it came out of fire. It came out of burning all of the crap that was inside him. I mean, it's a really important thing to learn about this meditation. Because you can pretend, you know, I've met so many, but especially, and I lived in ashrams and, you know, all of that, you know, kind of holier than thou way. Then people step out into the real world and it all just breaks down and disappears in 2 seconds. And you find all the anger, the unhappiness, the bitterness inside them. I mean, I used to have a student who, you know, she did transcendental meditation before she met me. And she said to me one day, I can sit and meditate for 3 hours in my apartment. I feel great. I step out on the street and suddenly it all disappears and I feel anger and unhappiness. And I told her it's because you're not working at developing inner strength. It's a veneer, you know, that you have learned how to put over yourself that creates that sweetness. But you stick a veneer in furniture out in the rain and it's going to peel up. And that's exactly what happened to her. Rudy's sweetness and love, it was unbelievable how much he unconditionally loved the people that were in his life. But all of it came out of fire. It came out of strength. It came out of burning tension, burning negativity inside himself, drawing it into the Kundalini where it was all just burnt up. It's like an incinerator there, burning garbage. And that garbage was like fuel that activates the Kundalini. So it all works together. It's the only thing is we as human beings have to learn how to do it. And I can't emphasize this enough. It's so important that we have to master this and learn how to do this for ourselves. Does anyone else have a question?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes, sir.
What's the waking up aspect of the meditation?
Is the what? Can you repeat that?
What's the waking up aspect of the meditation? So there's the gradual breaking down of tension, but what's the, a lot of the Zen traditions talk about the moment of awakening, to what is right now. Could you talk about that aspect of the meditation?
The waking up is through doing your inner work, you truly get a taste of God. You truly develop the consciousness to allow you to see how spirit manifests in the world. You see what's real. You see what's an illusion. Your whole inner being changes. There's a clarity about the way you see the world. And that's what that Zen stuff is all about. Suddenly they get this clarity. And it's always comes through kind of paradox, It comes through not understanding what the teacher says, but living it. Because you have the inner strength. You have arrived at a point in your life where you're capable of it becoming living experience. That is what the awakening is all about. You become truly a child of God because you have gone beyond the rational mind. And all of those Zen koans and all of those sayings, the whole point of them is to get the student to go beyond the rational mind to a place where understanding is not, where, Lao Tzu said, the path is no path. It's a place where you can't understand it through rational living, but it comes to you through an awakening that takes place inside yourself that allows you to see clearly the manifestation of God in this world. And I think this is important, and it takes training to get to that place. And that's why I always emphasize the work that a human being has to do on himself. There aren't too many perfectly enlightened masters that are born on this planet. Padmasambhava was born from a lotus flower. How many people do you meet? Every one of us has to work on ourselves. We weren't born from lotus flowers. We weren't avatars that came to the earth. So we need to work to get to a place where we get beyond the rational mind, beyond, polarity and duality and conflict of right and wrong and good, and to a place where there's harmony and balance. And in that place, we can then be nurtured by God, by spirit. Mind is quiet, we can receive that energy. One of the things I always ask for is for God's wisdom. Because if I receive God's wisdom, I cannot be locked into my own understanding of the world. It has to take me past myself. So that kind of awakening is really very important. they talk about a lot of it in Zen, you know, about that. And it's in everything. It's, you know, in every religion, when you get to the source of all religions, it's about waking up. It's about being reborn, about being resurrected inside oneself. And then you begin, you know, I'll never forget, I was sitting in a car with Rudy going up to Big Indian. And suddenly I felt this nectar of God coming into me. And in that moment, it changed everything in me and the way I looked at the world. And I remember understanding that it was part of my evolution and an outgrowth of the work I had done on myself to get to that place where I could experience that. And it completely changed my whole way of looking at life. And it even enabled me to go deep with the teachings I got from Rudy, much deeper, and to find true answers in myself in the way I needed to open to God and spirit and live my life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Hi, Stuart. It's been great to experience some of the same things not bother me at all or as much anymore, and to experience to know what it means, freedom from self and the spaciousness in that. And now when I do tasks, either for myself or others, I do them from a place of love, and it completely transforms what I'm doing. And so my question is, can you speak about that alchemy of intention, of love? Because it feels like magic. Can you speak about that?
Well, you know, Paul, it is magic. It's sacred. It's outside of the realms of anything we can comprehend in our mind, because it's living experience. It's living in the moment, responding to the moment. It's being able to see clearly what people bring to you, so that instead of getting crazy and upset about it, you can embrace them. And you can see them clearly and to understand the incredible suffering that goes on in this world. And most of it is only because of the unconsciousness of people. So the love is an unconditional love. It's a love that happens because it transcends human understanding. It goes beyond, you know, polarity, as I said before, and duality and all that stuff that we, you know, do when we make rational comprehension, you know, in our minds. And it really enables us to live in the moment, to see that everything around us is sacred and everything around us is a manifestation of God's love. And the reason why it gets so crazy is because people view most everything through their minds. And then it becomes conflict, and I don't like, I this, I that. You know, people judge each other, don't forgive each other, and it gets crazy. But when you live in the moment and you open your heart in the moment, you know, all of that disappears. All of that duality disappears. And you see life as a kind of oneness, you know. We are all children of God. And every person has something to teach us. Every person is a manifestation of God's teachings. And God is love. And how else are you going to learn from people unless you can? Doesn't mean you're a kind of naive schmuck, you know? As I say, the love from Rudy came out of fire, for God's sake. And all the love that I have and everything, it comes out of fire. It comes out of years of stoking that Kundalini fire inside myself, that is strong enough to break down, you know, my sense of polarity and get to a place in myself that is outside the realms of what the human mind can understand and enables me to connect with people in a deeper way. I don't judge anybody. I listen and I learn from them and I grow and try to nurture people. And then there's also another element to this. You can't nurture people who don't want to be nurtured. What I learned from Rudy was so essential because honestly, I've said it he used to really bust my chops sometimes. You know, he really, but he did it so I would learn how to find what I would use from the things I learned from him as a way to grow and not a way to run away, not a way to defeat myself. And learning those things was magic for me. It was extraordinary because then I could take any situation that happened in my life and use it as an opportunity to grow instead of an opportunity to defeat myself. Even the most negative, and I won't talk about them, but I've had horrible things happen to me in my life. And generally it's from people who are jealous and this and try to do all kinds of crazy shit, you know? And what I learned is through going through all that stuff, I truly learned that the answer was forgiveness. I had to forgive these people, forgive them. They know not what they do. And it enabled me to rise above it and to be free of that kind of stuff that people were doing. I learned that from Rudy, from all the stuff he put me through that forced me to find a way to grow because of what he did. He learned that from Muktananda because Muktananda put him through so much crap and he had to learn how to use that crap in order to, how to get to God and transform it into something that really worked to give him a spiritual life. And I think we all go through stuff like this, you know. But the key is, how does it make me grow? How does it make me evolve? How does it help me get closer to, not, oh my God, this bullshit, I can't stand it, I'm running away from it, you know. But what can I do to make it help me grow? What can I do to help me get closer to God because of what I'm going through? And that's good things and bad things, you know, everything has to be a teacher that way. I hope this is clear, you know, this is such an essential aspect of the meditation that we do, that it's really important to learn this, not just for spiritual life, but just living in this insane world that we live in. And being able to cope with life as a teacher, not as an enemy. So that no matter what goes on, we learn to use it to grow and have a spiritual life, to get closer to God because of everything that is happening to us and what we see going on in this world. Does anyone else have a question?
I have one more question, Stuart, that's come up. Last week, I did an event. There were like 250 people, and I teach Hatha yoga, closed eye meditation, and breath work. And so like the fourth or fifth day in, I had tension from all that work, and I really went deeper to ask to relieve like a different level of relief. And I got this emptying that happened, which I was kind of very shocked and very grateful for. And I felt this bigger space in my third chakra, like pregnant, but empty. And so I think I lost a little focus on the focus of right below the navel, because it feels bigger since then, or more empty. So could you just talk to the space of focus? Because it feels like it changed.
Wendy, when you get pregnant, your belly gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, you know? And it's the same thing. You get spiritually pregnant and that chakra gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's fine, you know? And you stay centered in the same place, and this energy really expands the third chakra. It makes it bigger. And that's basically what happened to you. I mean, when you have 250 people sitting, you know, I mean, that's a lot of people to have to deal with, you know? And you need a lot of energy. What happened to you? Oh, there you are. You bounce from here to there. And you got, you know, so you have to get bigger inside. I mean, in order for me to, I mean, I don't have 250 people here, thank God. But with 30 people, 30, you know, I have to get very big inside to teach a class like this. And that's where all this teaching comes from, the bigness of being. You can receive that energy. It turns into Shakti, and it becomes teachings of an incredible level that you bounce from there to there. I don't know what's, people are leaving. I don't know what's going on here. Everybody's bouncing around. So I think that's what happened. But the metaphor is simple. You get pregnant, your belly gets bigger and bigger.
But keep my focus in the same like exact space. Don't let my focus go a little out, because it feels different. That was my main question. Yeah.
Right at the core, right at the center. Okay. That'll allow it to keep getting bigger. If you start focusing on the periphery, it's going to get smaller. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, well, God bless you all. Thank you. And in all humility, I am totally grateful to be here to share everything that I have learned in my life. And it's been quite a bit with all of you. And hopefully it helps affect you in a really deep way. And in all humility, thank you. Bless you all. And there'll be a meditation tomorrow evening. And I hope to see people there. And have a wonderful evening. And thanks.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Stuart. Love you.
Bye.
It's 9 o'clock.
Thank you.